guys have been around for a while, then you will know how much I love The Last Kingdom. I mean, I've done videos about going to the castle and seeing the exhibition. I love the TV show and I'm working my way through the books. And it's such an impactful documentary, not just because it has elements of truth behind it and fantasy and some very attractive men, but also because of the strong female leads. So this is what I want to talk about in today's video, and this is warrior women. I think they're so important to cover and to talk about. There definitely are other franchises, like Vikings for instance, which have strong female leads, but this is one of the series that, like I said, I love, but also I'm really familiar with the characters. Now, spoiler alert, I am going to be talking about specific things that happen, so if you haven't seen The Last Kingdom, I really urge you to watch it, but also maybe pause this video until you have seen it, because like I said, I will be talking about specific things as I go through and I won't want to ruin anything for you. But otherwise, let's get straight into it and let's talk about one of the characters that I'm not such a massive fan of, but I'll tell you for why later, and that is Brida. So Brida was played by Emily Cox, and Emily Cox did an amazing job with Brida, but the book version of Brida and the show version of Brida were very different. So I didn't enjoy TV Brida as much as I enjoyed book Brida. But she is one of the more complex and prominent characters in The Last Kingdom. So she starts as a Saxon girl, she's taken by the Danes when they raid her village, and she's then brought up among the Vikings. Now, Brida had a bit of a rough start with being abused and her mother kind of letting it happen, and she became very strong-willed from this and kind of didn't want to be pushed around by a man anymore. She becomes fiercely loyal to the Danes, and I think it's because they did save her. They actually brought her from a fate worse than death. From what she was in, she was really suffering, and she was looked after more being a slave than she was by her own mother. She becomes extremely loyal to Ragnar as well. In the TV show, as an example, you know, he kind of treats Brida like a daughter. Doesn't say it in so many words, not like Uhtred is treated like a son and is said to be, but she isn't kind of subjected to things that other women may have been, if you kind of get my drift. As it progresses through the series, Brida actually transitions from being a lover to a warrior in her own right. After a lot of the hassle and a lot of the heartache she goes through, which I'll touch on in a minute, she really is very much like, I don't need no man, and she ends up leading people, which is amazing. So let's just kind of touch a little bit on her love life. So when we see her from like an adult perspective, her and Uhtred are kind of on again, off again. There is suggestions that maybe they'll get together, maybe they'll get married. Ragnar Senior kind of suggests it. And then after Ragnar and his family die, and Brida and Uhtred are on the run, they continue being intimate, and Brida does actually suffer a miscarriage. A curse is put upon her, and she suffers a miscarriage. Later on, Uhtred goes his own way, she goes her way for various reasons. I'm not going to spoil all of it for you, and she actually ends up with Ragnar the Younger, which is Ragnar's son, until Ragnar is killed. Now, Brida is not able to provide children at this point, so Ragnar is sleeping around trying to, you know, get a lineage. So that obviously was upsetting for her. After Ragnar is killed, she ends up with I think she ends up with Canute, I think, from the top of my head. And yes, she does end up having a child eventually, but Canute also ends up dying and all this sort of stuff. So that's a very basic example of what happened. I don't want to give it all away for you. But she does have a tragic love life. And it is really tragic when you actually look into the finer details of what happened, how it happened, who organised it as well. So her journey through is filled with internal conflict. She struggles with her loyalty to the Danes, but also the growing tension between her and Uhtred, because Uhtred goes off and fights for Wessex. But what she doesn't realise is that Uhtred pledges his loyalty to Alfred in order for Brida and Ragnar to be set free and not be set up for something that they didn't do. I don't think she finds that out for some time, especially not before Ragnar dies anyway. So she's not only a fighter, but she's very connected to the Viking way. So she's portrayed as tough, resourceful, and unafraid to show her power in battle. She's often like at the forefront of a crowd. She's very good at leading people as well. She does gather people around her. But also she's not afraid to take hostages. She does take a priest hostage as well. And that is around a very tragic time in her life. And I think at that point she's, the way I see it anyway, you may not agree, I think she kind of almost struggles a little bit with, does she want to believe the Christian way or the Viking way? She does seem to waver a little bit at that point, but not for long. That's when she takes Father Pulig, and it's just her and him, and it's a whole thing. Now she does become a significant antagonist as the series progresses, particularly when her hatred for Uhtred grows, and it becomes her goal, like her main objective, to end Uhtred. That is all she can focus on. She loses a lot, and she blames Uhtred for a lot. Some of it I can kind of see why she's blaming him. Some of it I really don't understand why she's blaming him. Some was just not his fault. He was there, but it wasn't at his doing. So she does kind of get a vendetta against him. She definitely represents brutality and honour in the Viking culture, and it does make her one of the most dynamic female warriors in the series. Now, big spoiler alert here, she does actually die, and by that point I'd kind of had enough of Brida. I was a little bit like, oh gosh, like, you know, you're blaming a guy for something that was kind of your fault, not his. So I did find her quite annoying at that point. But the way that it happens, the way that she dies, is, I think it's good. I think it's not what you expect. So yeah, and that's Brida. So let's move on to one of the characters I absolutely adore, and that is Ethelfled. So she is the Lady of Mercia, and she's based on a historical figure. She is the daughter of King Alfred the Great, played by Millie Brady, and again, fantastic actress, portrayed so well. So she's initially introduced as a noblewoman who's forced into marriage with a powerful but ridiculous Ethelred. Over time, she then rises to prominence as a warrior leader in her own right. Now, again, she has a really tragic story behind. So she's put in this marriage where she initially thinks it's going to be great. Like, you know, I'm the daughter of a king. I can really help you because he is the King of Mercia. Now, the marriage was made because Ethelfled's mother was from Mercia, and it was a way to kind of tie those two kingdoms together. But he is, to put this delicately, he's not gentle with her. He is not caring. He's really only done it for a power play. In his mind, as soon as Alfred is gone, he's done. That's his kind of right to the throne of Wessex. Now, Ethelfled does get kidnapped. She is held by Danes, and she actually enters a lover's tryst with one of the Danes, falls pregnant with his child. And I loved that story for them. It was kind of her first real look at gentle love, at someone who's caring, as well in a physical nature as well as an emotional nature with her as well. After that all that kind of stuff happens, I'm not going to tell you everything. Eventually her husband dies, and her and Uhtred get a little bit intimate. I think she might have been doing that while she was still married, I can't quite remember. But after all that happens, she actually then takes a vow of chastity because she wants to take the throne of Mercia, and there's some concern that a man will marry in, and you know what I'm saying. And it does mean that her and Uhtred can't be together, and I found that really tragic because I just thought they'd be perfect together. But anyway, she becomes a strong and respected leader. She manages Mercia's affairs and the military strategy, as well as dealing with political intrigue as well. She commands armies and takes part in key battles against the Viking invaders, and she's learnt a lot of this from her father. She is definitely a strong, independent woman. She really is the definition of that. So she's just a great character. She doesn't fight in the same way that Brida does, or some of the male characters. She's more of a strategic mastermind. She inspires loyalty and following among people. And it makes her a formidable warrior in her own right, but also she does fight in the battlefield. She's not afraid to get in, get dirty, and, kill some people. Or indeed, she said that during one of these battles that if they try to take her, that her kind of bodyguard type person is just to kill her. She was willing. She was like, I'd rather be killed than be captured by the Danes again. So, yeah, I think you definitely can call her a warrior. Maybe not a traditional warrior, but absolutely amazing. So, next we have Walda. Now, she is a lesser known character in the series, but she plays a significant role in the life of Uhtred. She's a daughter of a powerful Danish warlord, and her character is one of the more intriguing female characters in the show. Now, she isn't portrayed as a warrior in the traditional sense, but her cunning and diplomatic abilities are assets to her people. So, like a lot of the female characters as well, she does use her intelligence and strength to navigate the violent world around her. She becomes a significant political figure throughout her role in battle. Is actually more indirect compared to people like Brida and Ethelfled as well. The next one is Edgifu. So Edgifu of Wessex. Now, she is a character who becomes extremely important later down the line, much later, towards the end of The Last Kingdom. The last couple of seasons is where she comes in. And she is a political figure in the Anglo-Saxon world. She isn't actually depicted as a warrior as such, but she does play a role in the broader struggle between the Saxons and the Danes, so I think we can put her in this bracket as well. Her character represents the influence that royal women had, both in court and in battle strategy, even though they're not always directly involved in the physical combat, although as we know Ethelfled was. So this is a character who ends up marrying the king, so Alfred's son. She ends up marrying him later down the line after his wife has passed away. And I liked her as a character, actually. She didn't have a massive impact on me. I definitely remember her, but she didn't have like a huge impact on me. But she definitely did try to get involved around the strategies and sort of how they can defeat the Vikings and the Danes and keep them at bay and stuff like that. But she wasn't kind of because she wasn't there the entire time. She didn't like stick in my head as, oh, she's such a great character. She was okay. There's really not much more to say about her than that. I think it's one of those things you have to kind of go and watch her so you can kind of make your own mind up about what you think. And the last one is actually a character from the books, not the show, and this is Lif. So this is a woman who has a significant role in Viking battles. She's a more minor character, but the overall saga shows her as a skilled warrior and a fighter, challenging the norms of female involvement in warfare, and her story is one of resilience and strength. So whilst The Last Kingdom definitely shows the brutal nature of Viking raids and Saxon defence, it also does show the more unconventional roles that women did hold. So you definitely do see the women definitely at the camp, making the bread, making the fires, making, it homely for when the soldiers come back. You see them at home doing the dishes and the pink jobs. I hate this phrase, the women jobs. I don't like that, but you know what I'm trying to say. But it also shows you the other side of the women who really do just charge and just go straight in and aren't afraid to put everything on the line for something they believe in. In history, many women like Ethelflaed were often involved in the defence of their territories or had a hand in military strategy. But through the depiction of female warriors like Brida in combat, that is more fictionalised. But the spirit of these characters reflects the resilient and sometimes brutal roles that women could hold in times of war. And that is it, guys. I just really wanted to jump in and share a video around strong female characters in a TV show that can be so heavily male cast. Like I said about Star Wars recently and Star Trek, again, typically you think these are more male heavy shows, but you do have some really strong female leads in these shows, and I just really wanted to point that out. But that's it for today, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. I've got some really fun stuff coming out this year. I'm going to be working on new franchises next year as well, so let me know who you want me to start looking at. If it's something I've not seen or read, I will do my best to do that, and then I can create some content for you. But until next time, you take care.